I'm Amy at EuroLuxHome.com. Welcome back to YouTube. Today, I thought it'd be really fun to tell you all about the history of our beautiful Eurolux Home building. It was built originally in 1920 right here on Main Street in Newberry, South Carolina. So one of the really cool things about our building is that it was built in the 1920s. There had been a fire that ravaged a lot of Main Street in the early 1900s, and this was one of the buildings that was rebuilt with the original Newberry yellow brick. This is very distinctive, and there's quite a few buildings here on Main Street that use this yellow brick that was made right here in Newberry, South Carolina. But as you come on in, you can see more examples of the 1920s architecture, these beautiful black and white penny tiles that just give a really distinctive feature to the look of our gallery. And as you come on in closer, you can even see the original Art Deco hardware from the 1920s. It's so cool. So come on in, I'll tell you more about it. This great big building was rebuilt in the 1920s. The owner was R.A. Lominack, and he owned a hardware store. So this great big space was filled with all of the tools and screws and nails and wood that you would need in a small town. And it's really interesting to see the artifacts of that, because right through here is where they would actually stretch out rope and chain and measure it off in order to sell it in sections. And so you can actually see nails that have been put in the floor that mark 10 feet, 20 feet, and 30 feet. So check it out. So after the hardware store closed, this was used as an adult literacy center, and it was also the local YMCA. And this whole great big area was the basketball court. And there were locker rooms downstairs as well. That now is our restoration department. So here we are at the back side of our building, the great big beautiful brick, and you can see the historical marker of R.M. Lominack hardware. It's a bit hard to read now as it's quite weathered, but we thought that it just adds a little bit of something to keep that historical marker here on the building. So there were actually two Lominack cousins. R.M. Lominack that owned 1409 Main Street, and then just down a few blocks was Frank Lominack that owned 1403 Main Street. And of course, if you have two hardware stores right next to each other, owned by two cousins, you can imagine that they competed to bring in the most clientele. And so Frank Lominack decided that he would actually put a shooting range in the basement to, you know, just have a little extra service to bring in more customers. Well, the unfortunate thing is that that's also where he stored the dynamite. And I think you probably can figure out what happened. Unfortunately, in November of 1936, a stray bullet ricocheted into the dynamite and blew up a huge amount of space here on Main Street. It damaged multiple buildings, and in 1936, it totaled $200,000 in damage. That is a lot of money today, but that was an astronomical amount of money back in 1936. I wanted to film out here so that you could see when they began rebuilding. This building, 1405 Main Street, had originally been a two-story building, but it was completely damaged in the explosion, and the owner decided only to build the first level. So we're going to actually go up into the 1407 building and take a look at this exterior wall to see a really hidden surprise. So this is the hidden passageway up to the attic. Here we are in the hidden staircase of the 1407 building. It has never been renovated. It's always just been an industrial loft space, so it's a bit messy. But come on, I'll show you. I wanted to point out this really interesting piece of graffiti that's right here in this staircase. If you look, it actually says Kilroy was here, but the date is June 10th, 1944, just 4 days after D-Day. So interesting. Upstairs in this industrial loft space that has never been used for anything. It's the 1407 building that I showed you when we were outside, and this was originally the exterior wall. Now, I will, just for your reference, show you that this is Main Street right here through our windows. So after the big explosion, and remember, I mentioned that it caused $200,000 worth of damage all the way back in 1936. And I know you're trying to calculate, what does that equate to in 2024? $4.45 million. That was a big explosion when that stray bullet hit the dynamite. And so the damage caused the building next door to be almost completely turned into rubble. But this was the original exterior wall, and the builder, the owner, decided to only build one story. And then this second story is now the interior wall of our building. And so that's why you see this original advertisement for D.A. Livingston and Son General Mercantile. So you could buy everything from buttons to dresses to whatever you needed for your home. So that is the really interesting history of our beautiful 1920s gallery here in Newberry, South Carolina. We welcome you to come for a visit, but be sure to reach out as we don't have specific hours. It's just by chance or appointment. So give me a call at 803-276-4001. I'd love to meet you in person. See you next time.